So, last week I had, was it last week or maybe the week before? I had done a video basically stating my opinion and my thoughts around the Resident Evil movie that is going to be released this year, this upcoming September. And I said my opinion on how I don't think that this was Resident Evil. And it's not. No. And no matter how many times I dive into this mythology, the lore, to understand this whole thing, no matter what, it's still not changing my mind. Because it is what it is. It is not Resident Evil. It, like I said, looks like it is a more extension of this Zach Cregger's guy, who is the director, producer, and co-writer of this Resident Evil. And that it looks more of an expansion universe of Barbarian. Now, I've gotten a handful of comments left and right, disagreeing with me. Okay, fine, whatever. I have a right to my opinion. You don't like it, that's fine. I can say what I want, and I do have a say because I'm entitled to my opinion and how I feel and what I think. And there are some people who share the same thoughts. Others say they're going to watch this movie, but they're still going to be cautious because we have been let down numerous times of Resident Evil movies. Because a good amount of the time, Capcom and Shinji Mikami, who is the brains and the heart and soul of Resident Evil. Now, a video on Instagram of Zach Cregger, the director of this Resident Evil, has stated what he was aiming for. Now, yeah, he's got the survivor horror down, but it's not Resident Evil. Okay, you got survivor horror, maybe, things of that nature, but it's not Resident Evil. And it's funny, during that clip, because he says in the spirit of the saga, okay, that can mean anything. But someone said, and I'm not going to say who this person is, and no, this is not on any of my videos, so don't try to look for it, because it's not. But this was on a video of, like I said, Zach Cregger. I kept on saying Zach Cregger. Zach Cregger, who, like I said, is director of this film. And they had some words for it. Spirit of the saga. Ah, yes, I think he refers to the survivor horror factor, a moment. This also applies to Silent Hill, Alone in the Dark, Parasite Eve, Dino Crisis, Clock Tower. I think he forgot that justly Resident Evil is Shinji Mikami. Zach had the humility to ask Shinji... Did Zach have the humility to ask Shinji Mikami what is the real spirit of the saga? I don't think so. Don't justify your movie with an argument with that encompasses a whole genre and not specifically the title of your movie. That also, if there is no helicopter at the end of the movie and does not use a rocket launcher to eliminate the final boss, Resident Evil has nothing. And then there's also people who feel the same way. They said the truth that everything they showed was something that encompasses everything about a survivor horror genre. For Resident Evil, there is little to nothing, which I do agree. There's nothing about Resident Evil in that trailer. You can do so many things to tell what happens in games or in the files that are found in the game, but no. They always find a way to ruin everything they touch. And then someone else says, just knowing that Shinji Mikami and Capcom are not directly involved, I can assure you it will be a terrible adaptation. As Zach himself confirms, from what I interpreted, his movie is just a survivor horror experience more than a Resident Evil movie. I do agree. But I can say for sure that any other live action, be it more of a series, movie they make, will be a terrible adaptation until Capcom regains control of their own saga. Which I do agree. It doesn't say anything about Resident Evil. You have more of the survival, but like I said before, there's nothing about Resident Evil. There's nothing about the main protagonist going to Raccoon City. It just looks more like a wrong place, wrong time. He had car trouble. He's trying to get to where he can be, and he is faced with an impossible situation where he has to survive. Okay, yeah, he's not an expertise. He's not a cop. He's not this. He's just an average Joe trying to get where he needs to be. It looks like he's trying to get to his girlfriend or whomever. And he's fighting for his life. And speaking of which, they had released 2 posters, official posters. What was that? Okay. They had released official posters of this upcoming movie. So here's poster 1. Now, as you can see here, it's in the middle of the woods. It's winter. You got a car. Headlights are shining down on the street. And there's someone in the middle of the street. I don't know if you can see it, but if anything, you can go on Google. So that right there, I don't see anything about Resident Evil. I just see the title. Basically, like I said, with all these other people, I do agree there's little to no Resident Evil. It just looks like you just slapped on the title. And just because you slap on a title called Resident Evil doesn't make it Resident Evil. All right? If we haven't learned anything from the Netflix Resident Evil TV show, then we haven't learned anything at all. We have failed. Yeah, that's my opinion. Like I said, that's what I think. That's how I feel. That's my opinion. You don't like it? You disagree? That's fine. But there is nothing about Resident Evil in this picture alone. In this picture alone, it looks like some scary movie about to take place out of a sick, cultic, satanic ritual kind of thing. Like, you know those movies. For some odd reason, this is reminding me of a movie that Shudder had released a couple of years ago about a young lady that was kidnapped by this elderly couple who had made a deal with the demon to bring back her son. And that could only happen if the woman who was already pregnant with her baby, if the demon can somehow possess that baby and now have a new vessel. It doesn't work out very well. But that's what it looks like. It looks like something happened. It also looks like that new movie called The Passenger, which is coming as a horror movie. It's about a couple who are going somewhere and they see this man repeatedly on the side of the road, a whole urban legend kind of thing. That's what it looks like to me. Some people say it looks like something out of X-Files. So there's that poster, and there's another poster. This one right here. So this poster also has come out. As you can see here, you have the protagonist. He's got a gun. He's got his weapon. He has his first aid kit. He looks like he's ready to go. As you can see, this is the city. It's engulfed in the winter air. And if you look closely, I don't know if you can. Okay, if you look closely, you can see the zombies are up on the top of the building. Because in the trailer, or in the teaser trailer, they hop off the building and fall into cars, basically just 86ing themselves. Almost something out of The Walking Dead, especially Daryl Dixon when he goes to Paris and the walkers are literally jumping off the building to get to, you know, Daryl and the young lady who was there when the outbreak first started in Paris. You know, but this doesn't look anything like, this poster right here doesn't look anything like Resident Evil. I'm not getting Resident Evil vibes. I'm getting World War Z. I'm getting 28 Days Later. I'm getting I Am Legend. Something of a post-apocalyptic world that has been, humanity is put to a standstill. Some kind of outbreak had happened and very, very few people are left alive. Looks almost like The Last of Us. It, you know, a season of The Last of Us. That's what it looks like. It's something out of The Last of Us. That's just me. But yeah, I'm not getting anything of Resident Evil. What I would have gotten is if the protagonist is being chased down by dogs and it's night and there's fire everywhere, chaos has ruled everything, and he's running to the RPD station, the precinct. That's Resident Evil right there, where he's running towards the precinct trying to get to safety and he's being chased down by dogs or zombies, like trying to grab him or something. That's Resident Evil. There is nothing that says, you know, there is nothing. Like this right here, because these are just people who are making their own Resident Evil sort of things. Like this right here, yeah, that's Resident Evil vibes. The dread, we know there's zombies there. We know biohazard. There's all kinds of creatures coming up because of the biohazard, because of that virus. There's that one. There was one I even saw it. And I get it, they're not going to put the original characters in there. Cool, great. That's fine. The problem is, and look at this one. This one's really good. The Decatur. Yeah. So the director didn't say that he was not going to put any of the original characters that we know and love. It takes place during the time of Resident Evil 2. Okay, cool. Great. But it's still not Resident Evil at all. There's little to no vibe of it. Okay, survivor horror, cool, great. Not Resident Evil. It's not Resident Evil. We get it. Survivor horror. But like I said, like people are saying, that's any game. But you're making Resident Evil. Even with the survivor horror aspect, where is Resident Evil? Where is Raccoon City? Where is RPD? Where's Stars? Where's Umbrella? Where is all of this? What would have been cool is another poster where he's in a lab, an aerial shot of him being in the logo of the Umbrella Corporation company, and he's being surrounded by zombies ready to come at him. That's something that would be cool. Or him holding onto a door, closing down because the zombies are trying to get him, and there's the logo there. Something that speaks Umbrella, Stars. I don't know, maybe like he's like next to a wreckage and it has the Stars logo on what was the helicopter. Something that would point Resident Evil. Spirit of the Saga, what does that even mean? What does that even mean? Yeah, okay, we get it. The kid doesn't know where he is. He's some sort of medical corps or something. He's in a wrong place, wrong time. That can mean anything. That can mean anyone. Doesn't mean Resident Evil. It's not like, for example, Claire. Claire went back to Resident Evil. Went back to Raccoon City to find her brother. She was just a college student. She had no expertise with firearms. Same thing with Leon. Leon was a cop. Depending on what game you're going through, if you're going by the original RE2 game, he broke up with his girlfriend, went to a bar to drown his sorrows, and found himself waking up in the middle of the outbreak, where he meets Claire. If you're going by the remake of RE2, he's at a gas station filling up his tank going to Raccoon City, and he meets up with Claire, who happens to be at the same gas station, and when they enter Raccoon City, they're basically separated. So yeah, that's not Resident Evil. I'm not going to apologize, because why should I apologize for how I feel? I'm never going to apologize for how I feel. That's how I feel. That's how I feel. That's my opinion. I'm not going to apologize for my opinion. And I know a lot of people out there were going, well, you don't have to watch it. I'm not going to watch it. Because this, to me, is going to be like Return to Silent Hill, which I never saw the movie. And I'll admit, I never played the games, but I know people who played the games. I know enough to know what the lore is. Because only in part in the first Silent Hill game and in the third Silent Hill game, you will get the cult. That's it. Those are the only two games that ever explain about the cult. Alessa, Cheryl, Heather Mason, those are the only times you ever get them. In part 2, it is its own story that is not based on that storyline, those arcs. It's its own story taking place in Silent Hill. James is brought back to Silent Hill because he had a letter from his wife, who has been not with us for a good amount of time. And as we go on this journey with them, we find out the truth of what happened to his wife. We find out the truth about his psyche. And we find out what these two pyramid heads represent. They represent himself. His frustration, his guilt, his regret, all that stuff. That is why at the end of the battle, he goes, I don't need you guys anymore. I know the truth. I know what I did, and I know what I need to do. So there's that. Return to Silent Hill was to be based off Silent Hill 2, but clearly right off the bat, from what I had heard, I even seen clips of it, myself and someone I knew, we were going to watch it, and when they found out how much of a shit show it was, they were practically telling me, do not spend your money on this film. Do not do it. Forget it. It's a waste of time, waste of money. Do not waste your money. That's exactly what they said. They were so mad. They were so mad. And I'm pretty sure a whole bunch of other fans of, the franchise were not happy. And they weren't. From what I had heard, this director that directed the Silent Hill films, A, hasn't played much of the games. B, makes so many unnecessary changes. Apparently, this director said that the only reason why he did not have Harry, the father of Cheryl, not be the main protagonist in the movie and only have the mother do it, because the director felt that it was not manly for a man to find his child, and that it was more natural that a mother, because the mother is nurturing nature and things of that nature, it felt more natural for the mother to do it. So a father wanted to protect his children, his children, his kids, whatever. That's not manly? That doesn't make sense. So clearly this guy is just trying to give an answer of why he wanted a woman, a mother character, rather than the father, which that's exactly what happens in the game, is the father, not the mother. He could have just said he wanted the mother. He wanted a mother because he felt that people would relate to, the female character more, parents, things of that nature. Because parents want to protect their children, especially mothers, that they had this child. They held this child inside them, things like that. I'm not going to go into details. You guys know where I'm going with this. He could have said that. But to basically undermine a father's masculinity, yeah, that doesn't really... Clearly, the guy doesn't know what he's talking about. And apparently, these movies were not doing very well, and Return to Silent Hill was the worst. So, people are praying that Konami never lets this guy touch any of their stuff again. Who knows? And that's what I'm afraid that this upcoming Resident Evil is going to be. It's going to be a fiasco, just like Return to Silent Hill. Because there's nothing. Return to Silent Hill, there was so many unnecessary changes to it. Maria was the seductive kind, and Angela was someone who hated men. Somehow in the movie, these two swap personalities. And when you meet the abstract father, I was about to say absentee because that's what I thought. Abstract father, Angela and the abstract father fused together, clearly looking like something out of The Cell. I had showed the person I was going to go with to watch the Silent Hill movie, Return to Silent Hill, and they're like, "Oh, that's cool." And then they looked more into it, they're like, "Angela doesn't fuse with the with the abstract father." That is, they were not happy. And I don't think anyone else was happy. And then also, Mary is James's girlfriend, and that Mary was the cult leader's daughter, which that is completely untrue because in the game Mary is gone. She passed away, right? And all of these characters, because you have Mary, Angela, Maria, Lori, you have all these characters who are their own characters. And Maria is a representation of what James wanted his wife to be. because when James's wife was getting sick with a disease that no one knew, there was no cure, he was basically susceptible to a lot of, mistreatment towards Mary, mistreatment from Mary towards him, and he kind of snapped. And then basically but in the movie, all of these characters are one character. They're all parts of Mary, which is not true, because Mary is Mary, Maria is Maria, Angela is Angela, Lori is Lori. Not only that, Lori is a little girl that Mary had, a desire to adopt. On top, and also in the movie, Mary is not Mary. Lori or Laura. Is it Lori? I think Laura. I'm sorry. Lori. The little girl is not a little girl in the movie. Looks like a teenager. Clearly different. Either way, I can almost feel it. I feel it in my bones. This Resident Evil movie is not going to have anything Resident Evil. Clearly, this director has the idea of what survivor horror is, just not what Resident Evil is. Because survivor horror could be anything. That genre, it could be any game. But Resident Evil, no. And just because you slap on the title Resident Evil doesn't make Resident Evil. That's like in Batman vs. Superman movie. Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice, Zack Snyder's movie, and you had Jesse Eisenberg playing Lex Luthor, and Holly Hunter playing a senator. I don't remember the senator's name. Basically, she's in the office, she's in the mansion of Lex Luthor's office. She's in Lex Luthor's office in his mansion, and she basically tells him, I know what you're doing, and I'm not going to have your little weapon approved. Because anyone can say anything. I can take a jar of piss and call it Peachy Dean lemonade. You can call your little kryptonite thing and call it a deterrent when it's really a weapon. Alright, so like I said, they can put the title of Resident Evil, but yet it's not Resident Evil. It is a jar of piss being said that it is lemonade. It is a movie that is a survivor horror game that is being labeled as Resident Evil. It's not lemonade, folks. That's not Resident Evil, folks. That's my opinion. My opinion. You agree, you agree. If you don't, you don't. That's fine. Either or, my opinion. I have my right to say what I want to say. I have my right to think what I want to think. I have the right to think I have the right to feel what I feel, because I am entitled to those things. I'm not going to let anyone tell me what I can feel, what I can think, and what I can say. No. These are my feelings, my opinions, my thoughts. They are mine. And my opinions, my thoughts, that's not Resident Evil. That is just a label that people are saying. That is a jar of piss poor excuse of a movie saying Resident Evil. That's me. I'm not going to watch it because I ain't wasting my money, because I know what's going to happen. This is another failure of video game adaptation. Until Capcom or Shinji Mikami involve themselves, like Sega involved themselves into the Sonic Hedgehog movie after the whole character design fiasco. Because Sega was like, we have failed numerous times with the games of Sonic the Hedgehog. We are not going to have this fail. Y'all need to fix it. If we have to give you money out of our pockets to fix it, y'all's better do it. Unless Shinji Mikami or Capcom does the same thing, we are never going to get a movie. The closest thing we're ever going to get, and as sad as it sounds, is Welcome to Raccoon City. which is Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City. That is the closest thing we're going to get. Yes, it had a lot of unnecessary and clearly messed up things there. And when I mean messed up, Wesker was not caring. Jill was not into Wesker. And she was not a gun-toting, person that just to shot. Leon was not stupid. He was naive, yes, but he was not stupid. He knew what to do or had an idea of what to do. This guy didn't know what to do. The events from what the movie was, it seems that they really threw out the events of Resident Evil 3. Because they put 2 and 1 together. But when they did that, they got rid of 3. But 3 is part of the franchise. That was it. Chief Irons, Leon never met Chief Irons. Claire only met them once. Claire never met Lisa Trevor. Right. In the game, whether you played Chris or Jill, you got to meet Lisa Trevor. Yeah. Wesker wasn't someone trying to get out of Raccoon City. He wanted to go into the mansion because that's where everything was. The lab and everything that was there. He was working with Umbrella. Chief Irons was working with Umbrella. Pretty much everything. There you go. And Resident Evil 2 basically plays more of that, but in the city where the lab is underneath, where you meet Birkin, you have an idea how this outbreak had happened. That's that. So yeah. If you guys want to watch it, cool. Let me know what you guys think. I'm going to sit this one out because I know what's going to happen. That's not Resident Evil. It's not my Resident Evil. I think the only things we're ever going to have are the CGI movies and TV shows. Yeah. That's just me. Yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments. I'm not gonna watch it. What about you guys? I've heard some of you guys are cautious. Some of you guys might watch it. Others have come out and say, yeah, that's not Resident Evil. So let me know what you guys think. If anything, I think Zach Cregger's little interview might be on the internet so you guys can check for yourselves. I found it on social media. I wouldn't be surprised if that little video is on YouTube right now. Check it out. But yeah, let me know, guys.